People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions?
Yeah.
Like you said, and it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say on The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. But the problem with her is that she went full racist.
Sunny Hostin, one of the most divisive and outspoken voices on The View, recently found herself embroiled in a scandal so ironic it could have been plucked straight out of a satire. It's a twist no one saw coming, and it's making waves everywhere.
I make fun of The View a lot, but that's only because they keep talking. Those hens are always clucking. They get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, and then I get to say stupid stuff for an hour every day, except on purpose. But every now and then, one of those dingbats inadvertently says something that reveals modern liberal thought so perfectly, it deserves further study. You know, like a weird serpent that washed up on the beach and you want to poke it with a stick.
Known for her fiery takes on race, reparations, and identity politics, Sunny has spent years passionately dissecting how history has shaped racial inequality. She's not just vocal, she's loud, confident, and undeniably self-assured in her moral superiority. Her words carry weight, often sparking both admiration and backlash from audiences.
She injected skin color into a fairly generic behavior seen in all spouses. Regardless of skin color, people marry, they listen to each other, they have something in common with them, they share their political views. She just didn't want to upset her husband by saying her husband makes her do everything, and then she'd have to accuse him of being a racist. Because if he told her that this is what white women do, then he's a racist. You see?
So, when Sunny appeared on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show where celebrities dive deep into their ancestry, expectations were high. Many anticipated another moment where her personal history would perfectly align with her public advocacy for racial justice.
I didn't think my family was originally from Spain and slaveholders.
Yeah.
And I think it's great for our children to know this information. I guess it's a fact of life that this is how some people made their living.
After all, for someone so committed to fighting for equality, you'd think she'd be deeply familiar with the intricacies of her own lineage, right? Wrong. What Sunny uncovered during the show left both her and the internet completely stunned. The revelations about her ancestry didn't just challenge her personal narrative, they threw her public persona into sharp contrast. The reactions have been nothing short of explosive, and the fallout is only beginning to unfold.
These elites are so isolated, they've forgotten that most Americans don't get paid to sit in a comfy chair pontificating about everything all day. Nope, some of us are cameramen whose names I don't know. But maybe one day, when we finally strip away this phony race war, it will finally expose this elite mentality. And we'll find out Sunny is just like Marie Antoinette, except she says, "Let me eat cake."
Sunny Hostin appeared on PBS's Finding Your Roots, a show dedicated to uncovering the ancestry of celebrities and public figures. But what should have been a fascinating exploration of her past quickly turned into one of the most ironic twists of her career. For context, Sunny is a staunch advocate for reparations and has built her platform on outspoken critiques of white privilege and racial injustice. She spent years passionately advocating for racial equity and reparative justice.
Hostin's obsession with race gets thrown back in her face. Today's video comes to us from Sunny Hostin. Sounds like a town. Researching celebrity ancestry. For context, Sunny is a staunch supporter of reparations and has made a fortune spewing nonsense about white privilege and racial justice. Well, turns out she's not as oppressed as she claims she is.
But here's the kicker. Turns out Sunny isn't as oppressed as she often claims. In fact, she's the descendant of European slave owners. Before we dive further into this jaw-dropping revelation, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to stay updated on all the latest Hollywood gossip. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. As Sunny sat across from historian and genealogist Henry Louis Gates Jr., she appeared eager to uncover the mysteries of her lineage. What she wasn't ready for was the bombshell revelation that would follow. Her ancestors weren't just struggling immigrants or oppressed minorities, as she had long believed. They were slave owners. Yes, The same Sunny Hostin, who has spent years championing reparations and denouncing the legacy of slavery, found out that her own family directly benefited from the system she's been so vocal against. Her reaction was a mix of visible discomfort, wide-eyed shock, and awkward stammering. She struggled to process the revelation, muttering that she had always seen herself as Puerto Rican. The moment was equal parts cringeworthy and unforgettable, sending shockwaves through viewers and critics alike. "I didn't think my family was originally from Spain or slaveholders," Sunny admitted, almost as though she couldn't believe the words leaving her own mouth. For a moment, there was silence, the kind of awkward, heavy pause that makes you glance at your remote to see if you accidentally muted the TV. Sunny, ever the professional, attempted to salvage the moment, muttering something about how this revelation would be interesting for her kids to know. But let's be honest, the damage was already done. A revelation this big wasn't going to stay confined to PBS for long. Enter Greg Gutfeld, Fox News' resident provocateur and a man who lives for moments dripping in irony. If irony were an Olympic sport, Greg just took home the gold medal. He opened his segment with a stinging one-liner that instantly set the tone. "Sunny Hostin's ancestors were slave owners. That's like finding out a vegan secretly owns a barbecue joint." The audience erupted in laughter as Greg peeled back the layers of what he called Sunny's glaring hypocrisy. He wasn't holding back, adding, "People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin even get her opinions? Clearly, it's from her husband. She's not coming up with this stuff on her own. Without him, she's got nothing up there. Let's face it, she's not very bright." The segment was brutal, and while it played perfectly to Gutfeld's audience, it added yet another layer of chaos to an already explosive story. The real issue, Greg Gutfeld argued, wasn't just Sunny Hostin's hypocrisy. It was how she weaponized race in a way that turned a generic behavior into something divisive. He explained, "She went full racist, injecting skin color into a fairly universal dynamic seen in all marriages. People marry, they listen to each other, and they often share political views. Skin color has nothing to do with it." Greg didn't hold back, adding, "Sunny didn't want to admit that her husband influences her opinions because then she'd have to accuse him of being a racist. If he said something like, 'This is what white women do,' then, according to her logic, he'd be the racist." His point cut deeper as he continued to call out Sunny's long-standing tactic of using the race as a moral weapon. Greg remarked, "Sunny has built her entire career on weaponizing race, using it to shame others or to win arguments. But this time, her favorite strategy of claiming moral superiority completely backfired." The audience nodded along as Greg outlined how her attempt to frame everything through the lens of race didn't just undermine her arguments, it highlighted her inconsistency. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Sunny, often quick to point fingers, was now caught in a situation where her own narrative had unraveled. The next time Sunny pulls the race card on The View, someone's gonna remind her, "At least we're not slave-owning racists," Greg quipped, delivering yet another punchline that sent his audience into fits of laughter. But Greg wasn't just there for the jokes. He shifted gears, pointing out something many viewers found troubling: Sunny's complete lack of accountability. When faced with the shocking revelation about her ancestry, Sunny didn't apologize or address the irony. Instead, she brushed it off, dismissing it as just another fact of life. This nonchalant reaction only fueled the fire. As expected, social media exploded minutes after the episode aired. Platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok were flooded with reactions ranging from disbelief to outright mockery. One tweet summed up the collective shock: "Sunny Hostin finding out her family was slave owners is the plot twist of the year." Then, of course, the memes rolled in. One of the most popular featured a mock-up of Sunny with the caption, "Reparations? Let me write that check to myself real quick." Even some of Sunny's most loyal fans struggled to defend her. While some argued that she shouldn't be held accountable for the actions of her ancestors, others weren't so quick to let her off the hook. For them, Sunny's years of moral grandstanding made her dismissal of the revelation seem hypocritical and tone-deaf. This wasn't just a social media frenzy. It was a reckoning that highlighted how public figures can't easily escape the narratives they've spent years crafting. "It's not about blaming her for what her ancestors did," one commenter wrote. "It's about the hypocrisy of shaming others while ignoring the skeletons in your own closet." This sentiment seemed to echo across social media, sparking debates about accountability, hypocrisy, and how we navigate identity politics in the modern world. Greg Gutfeld didn't stop at Sunny. He used this moment to critique the broader issue of identity politics, arguing that it often oversimplifies complex issues and creates unnecessary division. This is what happens when you focus so much on race, he said. You lose sight of the individual, the context, the nuance, and eventually it backfires, just like it did for Sunny. Greg also took the opportunity to emphasize the importance of personal responsibility. It's not about who your ancestors were, it's about what you do today. For years, Sunny has been lecturing everyone else. Maybe it's time she took a long, hard look in the mirror. His words weren't just a critique of Sunny, they were a call to reconsider how we handle conversations about history, accountability, and the present. This situation raises some thought-provoking questions. Should people like Sunny, who openly condemn others for the actions of their ancestors, be held to the same standard when their own family history is revealed? Or is it enough to simply acknowledge the past without letting it define you? Greg, of course, had a field day with the irony. He pointed out the absurdity of Sunny's situation, joking, "If Sunny's been shaming descendants of slave owners, does she now have to add herself to that list?" It's funny how warped politics can get when you start playing the blame game. The incident highlights how easily identity politics can backfire, leaving even its loudest champions vulnerable to their own narratives. While the internet had a field day at Sunny Hostin's expense, some pointed out that this could have been a pivotal moment for her. Instead of shrugging off the revelation as just another fact of life, she could have used it as an opportunity to spark a deeper conversation about the complexities of history and identity. Imagine if Sunny had said, "I've learned something surprising about my family, and it's making me rethink how I approach these conversations." That kind of humility could have turned the tables, showing her audience that even the most outspoken advocates are still capable of growth and reflection. But instead, all we got was a dismissive shrug and a quick pivot to the next topic. Even Sunny's co-hosts on The View seemed unsure how to navigate the news. Whoopi Goldberg, known for her sharp wit, might have had to bite her tongue to avoid saying something like, "Sunny, do you want me to get you coffee, or would you prefer to ask your slave-holding ancestors for a refill?" The awkwardness was palpable, and the missed opportunity for meaningful dialogue didn't go unnoticed. Greg Gutfeld, naturally, couldn't resist taking another jab. "I make fun of The View a lot," he quipped, "but only because they keep talking. Those hens are always clucking. They get to say dumb stuff for an hour every day, and then I get to say dumb stuff for an hour every day, except on purpose. Every now and then, though, one of them says something so revealing about modern liberal thought that it deserves further study. You know, like a weird serpent that washed up on the beach and you can't help but poke it with a stick." At the end of the day, Sunny's revelation isn't just about her, it's a cautionary tale about the dangers of self-righteousness and the importance of humility. History is messy, complicated, and uncomfortable, and none of us are free from its shadow. This moment could have been a chance to embrace that complexity and spark important conversations, but instead, it turned into just another awkward footnote in the story of The View. That's why it's so important to approach these topics with grace, humility, and self-awareness. As Greg Gutfeld put it perfectly, when you spend your life looking for racism everywhere, eventually, it finds you. For Sunny Hostin, it wasn't just a figure of speech, it was sitting right there in her family tree. So, what's next for Sunny? Will she face the irony head-on and use this moment as an opportunity for growth? Or will she continue with business as usual, brushing off the revelations as if they never happened? Only time will tell. One thing, however, is certain. This story isn't going away anytime soon. It will be talked about for years to come, serving as a stark reminder of how history has a way of catching up with us. And who knows, maybe the next time Sunny lectures America about its history, she'll pause and think twice before throwing stones from her own glass ancestral house. If you enjoyed this video and want to stay in the loop for more stories like this, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.